Born in London, Ontario, Tessa Virtue would start skating at the age of 6. And just a year later, along with her partner Scott Moyer, she would embark on a historic journey spanning over 2 decades. Virtue and Moyer would win 5 Olympic medals, 3 World Championship titles, and 8 national titles. The pair made their Olympic debut in Vancouver 2010, winning gold, becoming the first North American team to win the title and the youngest ice dance team ever to win gold at the Olympic Games. Sochi 2014 saw them walk away with 2 silver medals in the ice dance discipline and in the team event. And with the storybook ending fitting of a Hollywood movie, Pyeongchang 2018 saw Virtue and Moyer finishing their Olympic career, winning gold in both ice dance and in the team event. All total, the pair are the only ice dancers in history to achieve a career Super Grand Slam by winning all 3 major senior competitions, the 2 junior competitions, and the Olympic Games over the course of their careers. This past November saw Virtue and Moyer named to the Order of Canada for their athletic excellence and for inspiring a new generation of figure skaters. Tessa is now retired, but her presence continues to be felt. In addition to having her own doll as a part of Barbie's role model series, she is an advocate for female empowerment and continues to raise awareness about the problem of declining participation in sports among preteen and teenage girls.
Tessa, I am so excited that you are part of this show today. I'll start by asking a simple, how are you?
Well, thank you so much for having me on. Um, I'm doing okay, thank you. Yeah, relatively speaking, I feel really lucky.
I want to talk to you about an experience with you that was so valuable and has stuck with me. The first time that we ever crossed paths, we were doing an event for Classroom Champions in Calgary. And you and Scott and I were waiting for a flight back to Toronto that was late. And so we were together for, I don't know, probably the better part of an hour. And I was so struck by the fact that you and Scott were so inquisitive. The whole conversation was about me. And of course, I have a million questions for you. I'm wondering, where does that come from?
Oh, well, that was fun. And you are such a fascinating, inspiring woman, and you're doing such extraordinary work that it was really fun to flip the script and be able to ask you questions because you're on the other side of it. I think we're both just genuinely curious. We are obsessed with improving and learning, and I think that just sort of seeps into every facet of our lives. We both love getting to know people's stories.
A lot of people that I talk to for this show, when they're offering advice maybe to their younger selves, which I'll ask you to do at the end, they talk about wishing that they had enjoyed the process more as they went. But as a naturally inquisitive person as you are, do you feel like you've actually soaked up the moments as you've gone?
I think I got better at that, especially in the later part of our career. Um, I mean, Scott and many of my friends will make fun of me. I'm the person who has to debrief constantly, so I'm always taking stock. Are we happy? Are we enjoying this? Are we having fun? This is great. What do we need to change? And always kind of doing a temperature check. So I think I challenged myself to stay present in that way, but it took some time, especially in the skating realm, because in that competitive environment, it was so easy to be consumed by all things sport and sort of lose perspective. And having the chance to step away after Sochi and then return, in the preparation before Pyeongchang, we really redefined our approach.
Speaking of shifting, I mean, your life is in the process of transitioning. As a creature of habit, though, as most athletes are, in particular elite athletes, how has it been during the pandemic for you when everything kind of you're in this limbo state that I would imagine for somebody who's used to having their life prescribed would be very difficult?
Yeah, I do miss the structure, but I would miss that, with or without the pandemic, because just being a competitive athlete gave me that. And we operated in this, insular little bubble. So I've tried to give myself a bit of a regimented routine, or at least, some purposeful blocks throughout the day. I don't know how consistent I've been about applying that, but I also think sort of allowing that to come and go in waves has been important, because it's easy to be hard on ourselves right now, and we want to take on the world, and we feel we should be really using this time, and sometimes we can, and we can perform optimally and be productive, but other times it's really hard, and the emotional weight of it all can be just overwhelming. So I'm trying to sort of take it as it comes, and both apply the lessons that I've learned in sport and also give myself a little bit of a break.
We've all been following along. You have such a social media presence, but I am wondering, when you make a career transition, as you are moving into something, I don't want to say entirely different, but I remember when I stopped doing music full time, I had a real struggle with not being Tara the musician anymore, how I self-identified. Do you wrestle with that at all?
Not so much internally, because I never really felt like Tessa the skater. I really, I think that was ingrained in me from a young age to not define myself in that sphere. And in fact, I never really felt like I belonged in the sport. Like I never was part of it. So I think that helped reconcile those two, ideas as I moved on. But I do miss what comes with being Tessa the skater, in the sense that I miss having something tangible, something on that big stage that I'm working towards. There are certainly elements that I long for, and I'll try to find that in different parts of my life. Do you think you'll feel that with like Tara the broadcaster?
I'm more used to this role now, but I definitely had a period of grieving,
Yeah.
leaving my old self behind,
Yeah.
and I wish I didn't have that experience, but I did. I attached a lot to that. You're asking me questions again, Tessa. What don't you miss?
The cold early mornings, the pain, like the physical pain, the stress and pressure of I think we just carried around such anxiety constantly. And I didn't realize just what a heavy weight that was until we got to step away. And I mean, it's part of what makes it so thrilling, and it's part of what is magical about it, but it also just wouldn't have been sustainable.
Yeah, I completely see that. You're in school now. You're doing your executive MBA at Queen's. How's that been?
It's been great. I've really loved playing student again. And, adopting that rookie mindset has been really healthy. And I'm able to learn so much about the business world from a theoretical standpoint that, I really look forward to practically applying. And it's also just been fun to challenge myself to build these virtual teams, which is, ever present these days, and to work in groups towards a common goal and a purpose. So some things are familiar, but many things like economics and financial accounting are very unfamiliar. I think it's good to be out of my comfort zone.
I sort of hesitate to talk about Scott because I mean, first of all, you're asked about it every time. And when I say indescribable, I feel like that there's nothing that quite does it justice. Only you know how much that relationship meant. In a difficult period like a pandemic, where, during difficult times for 2 decades, you had that partner there. Was that challenging not to have him close?
Yeah, it was. And to your point, we were so used to waking up every day and seeing one another at the rink, and sort of no matter what was happening in the world, coming together and finding our safe place on the ice. And I think, I certainly miss that. I miss him, but it's also a really refreshing place to be right now, where we're both pursuing projects that we're excited about. And it's fun to sort of play that supporting role now.
How seriously do you take your position as a role model? Because there are so many people who look up to you now.
Hmm. Well, it's a responsibility, but it's also such an honor. I mean, it still surprises me when I wake up and even hearing you say that sentence is, it's not lost on me just what a gift that is. And so I feel really lucky to be able to connect and have a story that resonates with people, particularly girls. I think at the root of everything I do across the board, the mandate is to empower women and young girls. And I love that I'm able to do that, even just in some small, tiny way.
What do you think are some of the most important things to impart? Because I heard, I think it was during a conversation with Anastasia Busis, where you talked about the importance of also, letting kids know the whole of the journey. It's not all smooth sailing. There's a lot of challenges. It's a lot of hard work.
Yeah. And we're all about instant gratification these days. So I think there's something really beautiful about protecting this delayed gratification and finding what it means to work for something you believe in, and maybe doing so even when people around you think it's crazy. If it's risky, if you love something, if you're passionate about it, just go for it. And I don't know at what age, well, I think it's far too young, maybe around 5 or 6, where there's a shift in thinking that we aren't limitless anymore. When you're young and you're engaging in this imaginative play, you can be anything, you can be anyone. And then at some point, the world imposes its views and it's ingrained in us that maybe we have to fit into some certain box, or I'm supposed to be, within some category. And so I just love to harness that like childlike wonder of the world is your oyster. What can you do with it? And you have all the tools to catapult yourself forward and succeed. It's all in you. And I just want especially young girls to know that they're equipped with everything they need.
Well, it's so much about the journey, not just about the goal. So,
You're right.
Tessa, I'm going to leave you with the same question we ask all of our guests, and that is, what is your best advice to a young Tessa Virtue?
I love this question. My best advice to a young Tessa Virtue is to surround yourself with the right people and stay true to your values.